Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, it's easy and fast. I told him it would be a girls' night out. My friends and I cheated on our husbands, but they found out. I never thought I'd end up writing something like this, let alone on the internet, but I feel like I need to get it off my chest. I'm not doing it to justify myself or to have people tell me if what I did was right or wrong. I just need to tell my story because I feel trapped between what I wanted and what I have now. My name is Ashley, I'm 30 years old, and I've been married to my husband for 6 years, whom I'll call David. He's a good man, hardworking, responsible, and stable, the kind of person any woman would think has secured a peaceful life. I've never lacked for anything. He pays the bills, treats me with affection, listens when I talk about my problems. If an outsider looked at it, they'd think I have an ideal marriage. And maybe that's exactly the problem. My life with him is stable, yes, but also monotonous. Everything in my day-to-day is so predictable that sometimes I feel like I'm watching the same movie over and over. Work, home, routines, quiet dinners, and weekends binge-watching shows. I don't deny that there's love, but there's also a part of me that misses the intensity from before. Before we got married, my life was completely different. I enjoyed going out, meeting people, dancing, experimenting. I'm not just talking about parties, but that feeling of being alive, of not knowing what could happen on a night out. My closest friends, Rachel, Lily, and Monica, were just like me. We were inseparable, a group of 4 always seeking the next adventure. When we were single, weekends were almost sacred to us. Bars, concerts, impromptu dates, short trips. We lived life to the fullest. Over time, we all got married. First Rachel, then me, then Monica, and finally Lily. The funny thing is that without realizing it, we all ended up with similar men, responsible, hardworking, down-to-earth. None of us married someone who shared that need for adrenaline. And I think in part it was on purpose. After so much intensity, we all felt it was time to settle down. The problem is that the desires you try to bury don't disappear. They just hide for a while until they find a way to come back. The first one to say it out loud was Rachel. We were at a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon, after a long time without seeing each other. Between the coffee and desserts, we caught up on our lives, our marriages, the little problems anyone can have. Suddenly, Rachel sighed and said something that stuck with me. I don't know about you all, but I miss those party nights so much. Don't get me wrong, I love my husband, but I feel like I'm fading away little by little. At that moment, I stayed silent because I felt exactly the same. And when I looked at Lily and Monica, I knew they shared it too. It was like suddenly someone had put into words what we all carried inside. That day, for the first time, we talked about it without fear. We missed the wild life. We missed the adrenaline of meeting someone new, of not knowing how the night would end, of not having to live every day with the same routine. The most shocking thing was realizing that none of us wanted to leave our husbands. All 4 of us agreed that we loved them, that we valued what they gave us, but also that there was a part of us that needed something more. From those talks came what we called our girls' night out. Officially, it was an innocent plan. Once a month, we'd get together just us without husbands to talk, relax, and disconnect. That's what we said at home. In practice, the reality was very different. Our secret club, as we jokingly came to call it, consisted of renting a room at a discreet motel in a quiet suburb outside the city, those kinds of places that don't ask questions. We weren't looking for luxury, just a spot where no one would recognize us. There we'd meet men we knew from bars or through apps. They weren't relationships, or commitments, or anything involving feelings. Just physical encounters, an escape. The first time was almost an experiment. Rachel was the one who organized it, and we agreed because we felt excited and nervous at the same time. I remember when I arrived at the motel and saw my friends waiting for me, my hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to run away, and another part felt more alive than ever. The men were 3 guys that Rachel had met on an app. They weren't models by any means, but they had that relaxed, fun vibe we needed. We spent the night laughing, having drinks, and then, well, you can imagine the rest. I left there with a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, I felt guilty. I looked at the ring on my hand and thought about David, about how I'd married him promising fidelity. But at the same time, there was a part of me that felt liberated, as if I'd recovered something I'd lost a long time ago. The funny thing is that after that first experience, there was no collective regret. None of my friends said, "This is wrong, let's not do it again." On the contrary, we all agreed we needed to do it again. And so, once a month, the routine repeated. Over time, we became more careful. We learned to delete conversations, make up excuses, control every detail so our husbands wouldn't suspect. The girls' nights became just another routine in our lives, but a secret one hidden under the facade of the perfect life we showed at home. For months, it worked. Our husbands had no idea, in fact, they even seemed grateful that we were spending time with our friends. They never asked too much because they trusted us. And there was the irony. They trusted us while we were doing the exact opposite. As time passed, the security made us let our guard down. We started feeling invincible, like we'd found the perfect balance, stability at home and excitement outside. In my case, David never showed signs of suspicion. His trust in me was so great that it made me feel safe, until one day everything started to waver. I don't know exactly when it changed, but I began to notice small details. Different looks from my husband, questions he hadn't asked before, seemingly innocent comments. It wasn't direct confrontation, but it was like he was suddenly watching me more closely. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but over the days, the feeling intensified. It was like he knew something, like he was waiting for me to say it myself. And that's when the fear started to replace the excitement. On the day we had planned to meet, I seriously doubted going. I texted my friends in the group we had, "Girls, I don't know, I think David suspects something. Better I don't go today." In less than a minute, the responses started coming. Rachel was first, "You're overreacting, Ashley. It's just your imagination." Then, Monica, "Of course he doesn't suspect anything. If he did, he'd have said something already. Relax." And finally, Lily, the most insistent, "Ashley, we've been doing this for months and nothing's ever happened. Tonight will be the same as always. You won't regret it." I stared at the screen with shaking hands. I knew something inside me was telling me to stop, but there was also that other part seeking the thrill, the one that didn't want to be the only one left out. In the end, I gave in. I convinced myself that maybe it was just my paranoia. That night, we went out. Everything seemed like always. We got ready, called an Uber, arrived at the discreet motel on the outskirts of town where the guys Rachel had met on an app were already waiting. And I have to admit, they were gorgeous, tall, well-dressed, with that confident attitude that made us feel desired. I'm not going to give too many explicit details, but I can say that night I let myself go without reservations. I got carried away as if nothing else existed, convinced that the next day everything would go back to normal, like always. When the evening ended, we said goodbye with laughs, convinced that once again we'd outsmarted fate and our husbands. I went home like nothing happened, hiding every detail, controlling my gestures and words. I came in, changed, brushed my teeth, and lay down next to David. He was already sleeping soundly, or so I thought. I looked at him for a few seconds and felt a pang of guilt, but I forced myself to close my eyes. The real nightmare began when I woke up. I opened my eyes and the first thing I noticed was the silence. The house was too quiet, more than usual. I got up half asleep and went to the kitchen. There was nothing, no coffee mugs that David usually left, no his work backpack, not even his shoes by the door. I went into the bedroom and opened the closet. That's when I froze. All his clothes were gone. A fear I'd never felt invaded me. I checked the living room, the drawers, and confirmed the unthinkable. Nothing of his was left. It was like he'd never lived there. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I ran to get my phone, and when I turned it on, I immediately saw the notifications in my friends group. They were all writing the same thing one after another. "Girls, something weird happened. My husband isn't here. He took everything. He didn't leave anything in the house. What's going on?" I froze. I couldn't believe what I was reading. How was it possible that all four had left at the same time? Did they know? Had they discovered us? Then, suddenly, my phone rang. It was David. I felt a chill when I saw his name on the screen. I answered with a trembling voice, "David, where are you?" His response made my blood run cold. His tone wasn't angry or yelling. It was cold, distant. Like he no longer cared about anything. "Congratulations, Ashley. Now you'll have an eternal girls' night out. You'll never see me again, except the day we sign the divorce papers. Have fun paying the bills." And he hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand, completely paralyzed. I felt an emptiness in my stomach so deep that I had to sit on the floor because my legs wouldn't hold me. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. The tears came on their own, and all I could think was, how did he know? How did he find out? In that moment, desperation overwhelmed me. I texted my friends, but they were all in the same state as me, in shock, not understanding. Rachel said her husband had even taken the TV. Lily was crying because her husband had deleted all their photos together. Monica said she'd found a note on the table with one word, "Goodbye." I didn't find any note, just the silence. The most painful thing of all is that deep down, I never thought things would go this far. I didn't want to destroy my marriage, I just wanted some fun, an escape from the monotony. But now everything had crumbled in front of me. I feel betrayed. He didn't understand me. I just wanted to have fun, to maintain a balance between the stability he gave me and the excitement I needed. I never believed he could react so radically, erasing me from his life in one night. Right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know when I have to pay the rent. In a month, we were supposed to move to a new house that David's mom gave him. I feel awful. I just wanted some fun in this gray world with David. I can't keep writing this without crying. Update. Well, I never thought I'd write something here, but it seems life takes strange turns. I'm the husband that Ashley talks about in this post. And I say husband in quotes because by the time she reads this, I won't be anymore. Let me introduce myself. My real name is Michael, not David like she wrote. Yes, what you're reading is true. The story that woman posted turns out to be mine. And before anyone thinks it's a coincidence, let me clarify something. She was so naive that she thought changing my name was enough. It didn't occur to her that I also read Reddit from time to time, nor did she even change her own name or her friends'. So when I came across this post, I recognized it in seconds. Want to know how I discovered everything? Here's my version. For months, I'd already suspected something wasn't right. I'm not a jealous or controlling man, but when you live with someone, you know their routines, their way of speaking, even their silences. And Ashley started to change. First, it was the small details. She said she'd meet her friends once a month. I had no problem with that. I've always thought it's healthy for everyone to keep their own space. But there was something different. Every time she came back from those girls' nights, she seemed more nervous than usual. I'd ask how it went, and her answers were too vague. Fine, we talked about everything a bit. We watched a movie, generic things, without real enthusiasm. Like she'd rehearsed the response before coming home. Another thing, the smell might sound absurd, but a man who really knows his wife can spot those details. Ashley would come back smelling like men's cologne mixed with alcohol and smoke. At first, I thought maybe they'd been to a bar, even though supposedly it was a gathering at someone's house. I didn't say anything, but I noted it. Then the phone. She started using it differently, always face down on the table, always locked, always glued to her like an extension of her body. If it rang in another room, she'd run to answer before I could see the screen. I'm not one to check other people's phones, but that need to hide already told me something. The third detail was the lingerie. Sorry if it sounds too intimate, but before those supposed meetings, Ashley would get ready more than usual. She'd wear new lingerie, heavier makeup, perfumes she didn't use when going out with me. And believe me, you don't need to be a genius to connect the dots. What finally confirmed my suspicions was one particular night. She came home with her blouse on inside out. She tried to play it off, but it was obvious. And when I asked, she nervously replied that she'd changed quickly because she'd spilled soda on herself. It was a lie. That's when I knew something was going on. I didn't confront her then. I preferred to observe. I noted every sign, every clumsy lie, every change in attitude, until one day, almost by chance, I logged into the computer she also used. I wasn't looking for anything, I just wanted to check some documents, but in the history, I saw she'd opened motel pages, not once, but several times, always coinciding with her girls' nights. That was the final blow. There were no more doubts. What I did next was plan my exit. There was no point in staying in a marriage where respect had vanished. And the most ironic part is that I didn't need to hire a detective or check messages on her phone. She left all the clues herself, and I just had to observe calmly. When the last girls' night came, I already had everything decided. I packed my things, my clothes, documents, personal belongings, and the next day, before she woke up, I left. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. I just left behind the life I'd built with someone who never valued what she had. I called her afterward to tell her clearly. I didn't want to yell or insult. I just gave her the news like closing a chapter. Congratulations. Now you'll have an eternal girls' night out. You'll never see me again, except to sign the divorce. Have fun paying the bills. And I hung up. It sounds cold, maybe. But after months of deceit, of laughs behind my back, of secrets shared with her friends, I had no other way to act. And here's the irony. Thanks to them, the 4 husbands became friends. Yes, as you're reading, we got together to talk, to laugh at how brazen it all was, and finally to plan the fairest way to get out of that circus. And we agreed on something, to leave them at the same time. No individual dramas, no doubts, all together. We did it almost like a shared declaration of dignity. That day, I understood that brotherhood can also be born from pain. Now, I want to make something clear to everyone reading this. Ashley never asked me for anything different. She never came to me to say she felt bored, that she needed excitement, that she wanted to try more things in our relationship. If she had, maybe we could have found a solution. But she chose the easy way, the lie. And when you choose the lie, sooner or later everything crumbles. As for the legal side, which I'm sure many are thinking about, Ashley won't get a single square foot of the house. She thinks that because we were married, she has a right to half, but it's not like that. That house wasn't bought during the marriage. My mother donated it to me before we married, and donations don't enter the marital estate. It's legally in my name with signed and validated papers. That means even if she wanted to fight, she has no case. So yes, Ashley will be left alone. I don't say it with joy, I say it with clarity. I wasn't seeking revenge, I just wanted to live peacefully. She made her decisions, and now she has to live with them. To finish, I want to address you directly, Ashley, because I know you'll read this. You thought you were smarter than everyone, that you could have it all without consequences. You were wrong. You weren't discreet, you weren't careful, and above all, you weren't honest. You gave me all the clues to discover you yourself. You deceived yourself thinking this was just fun. Well, have fun now facing life without me, because I definitely have no intention of going back. Update. Several months have passed since everything exploded, and I still struggle to process it. I don't even know how to start writing this, but I feel like I need to get it off my chest, even if no one believes me or even if it's too late. I'm alone. That's the word that best describes me today. Alone. I lost Michael, or rather David. As I presented him here without thinking he might read it himself. I lost my friends, my comfort, and even the security I thought I had for my future. The worst is that I didn't just lose it because of my mistakes, I dug each of the holes I fell into myself. After Michael posted his response and made it clear that everything I told here was my story in disguise, my world crumbled. I thought no one would ever know it was me, but I was so clumsy that I left real names, obvious details, and even phrases that only we said among ourselves. It was enough for him to put the pieces together and expose me. From that day, everything changed. My friendship with the other women shattered into 1,000 pieces. Their husbands found out too because Michael made sure they knew, and what I never imagined happened. The 4 men talked among themselves and agreed to leave us on the same day. It was humiliating, a kind of cruel poetic justice. We, who felt so clever, so powerful for manipulating them, ended up being discovered at the same time. I don't know what was worse, the mutual betrayal among us or seeing Michael and the other husbands become friends at the expense of our deception. In my case, the most devastating thing was discovering that I never had anything secured. I'd believed the house we were going to live in was a guaranteed future for me, but Michael made it clear. His mother had donated it to him legally, so it didn't enter any possible division. I wasn't entitled to a single square foot. And when I heard him say it to my face, with that calm coldness, I felt everything break inside me, because I was left without him and without what I foolishly thought would secure my life. Today, I live in a small rented apartment with the money I managed to scrape together by selling some things. My friends are no longer my friends. We barely exchange messages full of blame and recriminations. Each one deals with her ruin on her own. It hurts to admit it, but I've cried so many times wishing I could go back, wishing I hadn't been so stupid, so arrogant, so blind. Yes, I was cruel. Yes, I laughed at him with my friends. Yes, I played with fire thinking I'd never get burned. And now I'm the one living with regret, the one carrying the shame. I've tried to talk to Michael, to ask for forgiveness, to tell him it was all a mistake and that I really loved him, but he wants nothing to do with it. I understand. I don't hold it against him. More than anything, I hate myself for not valuing what I had when I still had it. I know many will say this regret comes too late, and it's true, but the only thing I can do now is reflect. And if there's anything I've learned in this hell that I provoked myself, it's that trust and respect are worth more than any material good or any secret plan. I lost a good, noble man who only wanted to build a life with me for some stupid laughs. With women who also turned their backs on me as soon as things got tough. Today, I'm a living reminder of what happens when you play with someone who truly loves you. You end up losing everything. I hope someday Michael is happy, even if it's not with me. I hope I can forgive myself someday, though right now it seems impossible, because in the end, all I have left is to accept that I destroyed it all by myself. Yeah. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, it's easy and fast.